morning all, welcome to Seeing Through Glass. Welcome the GT3 back to the channel. It's been a while since I've made some content with this car, I apologise. But, it's been away, getting ready for some big adventures this spring and summer. Starting in May, we're going to start putting some serious mileage on this car. But yeah, in the meantime, it's had the summer tyres put back on, the Pirelli P0s, which I chose to have fitted to the car before I collected it from Porsche Guildford, and it's been fully protected. I have full PPF coverage now on this car, done by the legends at NBN, who also protected my Ferrari 360. They did such a good job with the 360, whilst I was previously a PPF, not a hater, but like a naysayer, they converted me. And after a lot of you were appalled that this car had very little protection when I went off to Austria at the start of the year, it is now fully covered, and as I say, ready to be thrashed and taken into Europe to some very exciting places. So stay tuned. Those of you that are here for Porsche and specifically GT3 content, your time is coming soon enough. But right now, I'm continuing test drive month here on the channel. If you missed my last video, I announced that for the rest of April, I'd be basically based here in the UK, catching up with some of my favourite car dealerships, and also getting behind the wheel of some cool press cars. There's going to be midweek uploads, like this one right now, as well as the regular Sunday uploads. So, subscribe now, turn on notifications so you don't miss out. Today, I'm heading to DK Engineering, and regular viewers of this channel will know whenever I go to DK Engineering, I tend to get behind the wheel of some pretty unique and special stuff, and today I'm actually going to be getting behind the wheel of one of my unicorn cars. It's exciting. Let's go to DK. Now, just quickly before I head inside to DK Engineering, let me remind you about Car Vertical, who have sponsored this part of the video and are sponsoring part of Test Drive Month, which is currently happening here on the channel. Car Vertical is essentially your one-stop shop for a super detailed overview of your car or car you're looking to buy's history. They compile information from 25 different countries using sources such as used car websites, car manufacturers themselves, insurance companies, car auction websites, etc., to create these comprehensive reports that are super easy to read, but outline whether your car's ever been stolen, if it's ever been in an accident, if it has been in an accident, potentially pictures of the damage, a way to work out whether your odometer's ever been rolled back. Just so many interesting insights into your car's past. If you use my link in the description below, you'll get a discount when you generate a report using Car Vertical, which is super easy to do. Just click the link, enter the details of the vehicle, and they do all the hard work for you. You might be fascinated to learn the history about a certain vehicle because, well, we don't always know where our cars have been. So even if you're not out there looking to buy something, you just want to learn more about your own car, yeah, it's worth getting a report done because of the amount of information that it includes. So yeah, that's it. Car Vertical, go and check them out. For now, let's head inside to DK Engineering. I guess it might surprise some of you that this car is one of my unicorn cars, because whilst I do drive Mercedes occasionally on this channel, I'm not exactly like a massive Merc guy. That's Shmee 150. But there's a difference between Mercedes, even a difference between Mercedes AMG and a Black Series, a proper Black Series. Of course, I drove the new AMG GT Black Series in Australia at the start of the year, and whilst it's a very good car, I explained in that video, it's not what I think of when I think of Black Series. This era, the CLK era, heck, even the SLK era, which was the start of Mercedes AMG Black Series car, it's what it's all about. Overpowered, shouty, silly, funny, expensive bits of kit. And the reason that I've always loved this, the SL65 Black Series, is because in my mind, it represents not only an era, but a side of Mercedes and AMG that I don't think we will ever see again. This car is more powerful than the McLaren Artura that I was driving a few weeks ago. And it was made in 2009. It's got a 6-litre bi-turbo V12, putting out 700 odd horsepower and 1,000 Newton meters of torque. It's ridiculous. And of course, there was that iconic piece on Top Gear where Jeremy Clarkson drove it, explaining it as a sort of rocket ship, but one that is super uncomfortable and super impractical and kind of impossible to drive in any scenario. And that made me love it even more. I'm a huge fan of slightly ridiculous cars, and this could be the epitome of ridiculous. And therefore, I kind of want it. Now, if you've ever seen an SL65 Black Series before, if you know anything about this car, you'll know one of its defining features is its flared wheel arches. I mean, just look at these things. Kind of almost looks like a Max Power body kit, which might be a bit of a niche UK reference. But essentially, it doesn't look like a factory car. It looks like someone's come along and bolted these things on. But essentially, they are housing huge wheels and tyres that were required to harness the insane power of this vehicle. It does also have a bit of a wider track, which accounts for some of that growth or that girth. Obviously Mercedes needs to do that to kind of increase the stability at the insane speeds that this car can achieve. Its top speed is limited to 199 miles an hour. It's absolutely brilliant. Round the back, we actually get an adjustable rear wing. A lot of the sort of Black Series of this era gained rear wings, and obviously the AMG GT Black Series has a massive rear wing. But this thing, can move up and down depending on how you like. And what's kind of crazy is if we open up the boot, you will see that here is the housing for the struts that hold the rear wing. So obviously when you lower it, those struts have got to go somewhere, so they go into these housing here. You go, okay, fine, that makes sense. But it doesn't make sense because obviously when you close the boot lid, these take up the entire boot, so you then lose your luggage space. I mean, just absolute madness. I'm going to close that one. Coming round the car again, I mean, just look at how wide these arches are. Those are standard SL taillights, and therefore you can see just how much wider the rear track is. Big old shouty exhaust pipes, as you would have heard. We did the startup. Now, of this era, all SLs had folding metal roofs. A really clever design, actually, and it's always been a beautiful car because when the roof is up, it looks like a coupe, then obviously you could fold that roof away. But for the Black Series, AMG or Mercedes basically redesigned the entire car to be a fixed roof coupe. Yeah, that's not a folding roof anymore, which obviously aided in saving weight. I think they claim they saved around 250 kilos by getting rid of the folding metal roof. Also added structural rigidity, I suppose. But yeah, it's an insane development for what was just 350 cars. Yes, very few of these things were made. And their price back in 2009, £250,000. To have bought one of these, you had to be almost as mad as the people that created it. But yes, for some reason, despite all this kind of engineering madness, anyone who's ever driven an SL65 has said, well, it's not actually that good. Okay, fine, in a straight line, it's really, really quick, but you can't really do much else in it. And most of the time, you're very uncomfortable in it. But again, that just intrigues me more. So I reckon we're going to jump into this thing, kind of give it the ultimate seen-through-glass test by, yes, taking it to get a coffee. It might not be a new supercar. Usually that's when I do my coffee test drives. But it's a fairly stupendous one, an incredibly rare one, and as I say, one that is one of my unicorn cars. So yes, let's jump in, start up that huge, massive engine, and go for a drive. Now, over the years, I've driven some pretty amazing, some pretty powerful stuff at DK Engineering. But this is the first time ever that as I've driven away, they've said, be careful, yeah? First time ever. It may have something to do with the weather, which is not great. Especially not great when you have, 660, 670 horsepower and 1,000 Newton meters of torque in a car from 2009. Let's not forget, some of the technology in this car is going to be fairly rudimental compared to what we're used to today. It's got a pretty dodgy 5-speed gearbox. And the suspension, yeah, it wasn't the fancy SL air ride suspension. Instead, it was this standard coil suspension. So, should mean that things are predictable, but yeah, basic, let's say. It's almost like a really overpowered American muscle car. Anyway, let's talk about some of my initial impressions, shall we? Ride. I actually don't think the ride of the suspension, the chassis, is as bad as people made out. Yeah, it's firm, but I drove it this morning in my GT3, so maybe I'm just, maybe my point of reference isn't quite right. I tell you what is a shocker though, are these seats. Yeah, not good. By the way, here's a tunnel. This could be a disaster, uphill in the rain. Yeah, all over the road. Okay, don't try and accelerate in first gear. But that was surprisingly quiet, I have to say. But yes, wait, what was I talking about? I can't remember. The seats, yeah. In America, I don't think they got these bucket seats. They got the standard SL comfy seats, which even had a massage function in a black series. Kind of brilliant. They would be the ones I want, because yeah, there's just not a lot of padding with these, and they're very upright, so the sort of crux of my back is just bashing against something because the ride is quite firm. But yeah, I mean, hey, it's a black series. I know it's still an SL, but sound-wise, yeah, like I just experienced, actually, now that I'm on the move, it's a little bit more muted than I almost hoped for. It's kind of there, but it doesn't rumble you. Having said that, V12s are inherently smooth, and this, at its core, is an SL V12, so yeah, it's kind of want it to be a bit more Now, it's a bit of a narrow bit of road, and this car is wide, as I've mentioned quite a few times, so let's take it easy. This weather is atrocious. I'm sorry, people, we don't have a lot of options today because, well, as you can imagine, can't do tons of miles in this car. It is for sale. DK Engineering are legends for letting me come out on a day like this anyway. But also, yeah, with this weather, I'm just not going to go too far and wide. I kind of do want to do some crazier pulls though. There's just something in the back of my mind saying that this car is looking for a chance to kill me, so I should respect it, but then kind of want to, oh my god, give it that opportunity. Okay, again, that, it's not going to come across on camera, but that was a major sidestep. It's a really odd thing, this, because it's an SL, it's a bumpy SL, but then you just know, what's lurking under that engine, but at the same time, because of the amount of torque, you're not really getting the chance to tap into the aggressive side of the engine. Just put the air conditioning on because the windscreen is fogging up slightly, and oh my god, there's some sunshine! Ha! Let's get to that! Where's that sunshine? Come on. Okay, a little bit faster. Yeah, the torque band, it just seems available so early on that you never really get into the gritty part of the engine. The red line is just over 6,000 RPM. I'm miles from getting there. It's a really nice car to drive, actually. It's much more pleasant than I thought it would be. I thought it was really going to be kind of doggy and really bad steering angle and steering light, just all that kind of stuff. But no, it's kind of lovely. Way more sedate at these kind of speeds than I was hoping. But the thing is, if you forget it for a second, if you go, this will be all right. This car's just a, what's it called, a sleeping giant. And then you just push down on that throttle pedal a bit too hard, or you're death. Instant death, really. Oh my god, this is a monsoon! Who lets somebody drive an SL65 Black Series on a day like this? DK Engineering, you are legends! And as insane as clearly AMG were. I'm definitely not going to do any pulls now. I'm just saying, let's go back into comfort setting on the gearbox. This is so funny. Anyway, I'm 4 minutes from the coffee shop. Let's hope my drive back is a bit drier. But so far, all I would say is get rid of these bucket seats, and the car is a much nicer cruiser than I was expecting. Much nicer cruiser. It's miserable out there. Now, cup holders. Oh, look at that. How does that work? That does not look secure to me. Power that on. Let's get the wow, air conditioning kicked in. Calm down. I just have to get the sat nav set up to get me back to DK Engineering theoretically safely. I might actually have to put the audio on, so sorry if she's going to yell instructions at us.
Head southwest on Fieldhouse Lane, then make a U-turn.
Okay, so drive. Let's put me in. I'm going to go sport on the auto box, not manual quite yet. Let's get out of here. Tell you what, stopping by that curb was a little bit nerve-wracking because I had no idea where the wheels were. I was like, well, I'll get close enough.
Turn left to stay on Fieldhouse Lane, then turn right onto Parkway.
Okay, that's what I'm going to do. Turn left and... So that's all right.
Turn right onto Parkway.
We didn't die. I thought I was going to give it some welly out there and we'd be sideways back in the coffee shop, but
Continue
in the car.
on Parkway for 3/4 of a mile.
So I will continue to enjoy my coffee and I guess cruise ever so slightly in this vehicle. And then hopefully we'll get a chance to, I'm just going to turn things up to like 6. Yeah, I mean, just no traction. And the windows are steaming up again. So yeah, okay, fine. Look, you'll join me a little bit further down the road when I finish my coffee, de-steam the windows, and learn how to control the power of this car, hopefully. Time to swallow a bit of a brave pill. Yeah, just, oh my God, didn't want to gain traction at all. I didn't mention that this car's also running fairly aggressive Cup 2 tyres, and there are now rivers running across these roads, so, I've got to be a bit careful of aquaplaning, which I just did. Okay, slow down, Sam. Slow down. Very expensive car that is not yours. Genuinely, nearly understeered, off the road just then. Oh my good Lord, what is this weather? Sort of absolutely biblical. That is classic British spring weather, I suppose. It does make filming and driving all a bit tough and depressing, but I'm still loving this experience. But I am just going to take it a lot easier. This was my road that I was going to be like, right, come on, show me what you got, Black Series. But it showed me that yes, on these tyres with these massive wheels and massive tyres, you will go straight in a big rainstorm. So probably not worth it.
Turn right.
Now, I kind of touched on it. Oh my God, there's a big truck now. Oh, I kind of touched on it back at DK. Part of the reason that I love this car and this era of Black Series is because it's a sort of a side to manufacturing or automotive manufacturing that I just don't think we will ever see again. As the world heads in a new direction, with electric mobility taking the forefront, especially for Mercedes.
Turn right.
And everything becoming more accessible, easier to drive, easier to own. These kind of mad projects just won't happen, I don't think, ever again. The amount of money Mercedes must have spent developing this car is insane. They had to build an entirely new SL with a fixed roof. All the carbon fibre elements, so much that they changed for 350 cars. It's nothing. It's not even a homologated race car. They just did it because they went, oh, why not? Someone at the factory went, you know what would be funny? Let's make a Black Series of the SL. I don't know what that accent is, but if you're a long-term viewer of this channel, you'll know my accents are very, very dodgy. But yeah, they just did it because they could. Where I think now to get board level approval to create something this bespoke and bizarre and mad, it just wouldn't happen. And the end result is this super unique experience that is totally different to what I thought it was going to be.
In a quarter of a mile.
A big, it's a sort of talky Grand Cruiser that's then got too much power. If this was four-wheel drive, heck, it would be great for crossing the continent. But yeah, it's just great. And we've got to celebrate these cars. Because whilst you can celebrate the design of cars in the 50s and 60s, or maybe the purity of them, for me, the late 90s, early noughties was the heyday of the overpowered analog sports and supercar. And it's something that I think we will look back on. Heck, we're already looking back on going, well, they're cool.
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the first exit onto Naves Beach Way, A4094.
Just wants to slide everywhere, this thing. I kind of wish I had more space and the ability to turn traction control off, just to have fun. But it's a really cool car. Nothing like I was expecting, but really damn cool. I mean, I'm feeling a little bit bad now. Look at this filth. But I mean, this is the UK in spring. If you're going to drive a car, it's going to get absolutely filthy. So I'm just impressed that DK seemed to be completely relaxed about this, which is outrageous. I'm not sure many other SL65 Black Series will ever get this filthy, because I just don't think that many people drive them, which is a shame. Because yes, as I've reiterated quite a few times in this video, this is a super unique and special bit of kit, and I'm so glad I've finally been able to experience one. Just so different to what I was expecting, but so special in its own way. So huge thanks to DK Engineering. If you ever want to check out their stock, obviously I'll put a link to their website below. I'm very grateful that they allow me to come here and check out cool and unique cars like this. I'm sure I'll be back. Actually, I know I'm going to be back in a few weeks' time. So subscribe now and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on that future content.